Y'all, is it live now? I think our rain has got me held up here on my end. I had it up, I had it running, and then it kept going off and off and off. So I had to stop it and start back over. So can y'all find me and hear me and all such as that now? See if I can pull up chat on this. So y'all, the Starlink, if it is coming a big rain outside, the Starlink is not going to work well. Now, I'll tell you this, so far, I was able to sit here and watch videos on this. She was in there streaming stuff on the big TV, no problem. But when I tried to go live, it didn't have enough signal to go live. The whole time it's been pouring down rain, the Starlink was working as far as me watching videos, but it would not do the live. So the rain has ended. So maybe, hopefully, if it kicks me off, y'all, a little bit, we may not get to do it all night. But I looked at the radar. It looks like our rain is pretty much gone for now. So anyway, we are live, y'all. We didn't go live last week. I was sick. I was like, I was sick. We've been sick around here, but now this week has been pretty good. I've been out doing stuff. I've been out filming. We hunted first part of the week some. I just, and I talked to one of my friends around here local. I think, y'all, I can shoot a doe on this WMA. The problem I've had is they won't put any paperwork down here at the check-in station. And that's where all the rules and regulations are supposed to be posted up on a board, even if they don't have no papers for you to get. And they ain't put none down there. So whoever's running this place up here is bad slacking. But the Department of Fish and Wildlife says that no public land can you kill antlerless deer except in archery. But apparently this is an exception with a WMA. So I don't know. Anyway, it's been cold here most of this week. And when I say cold, down in the low 30s, upper 20s at night for the low. And then it's getting up in the 50s in the day. Now today the wind has been blowing and it started raining probably about 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock, started sprinkling. So it rained pretty good most of the evening. I don't know how much rain. We've had a couple of good downpours of rain. So I got my rifle and walked back here to my little camp. My canvas is shedding water. My dad-in-law, when he gave me that canvas tarp, he said, I think it leaks. But it was totally dry up under it. So I'm going to experiment with that. Probably I may change up some stuff. I don't know. But it has been better than the teepee so far, which we're eventually going to build a new teepee to put down there. So I don't know when I can promise that video. I would love to have it before next fall. But we'll see. Huckleberry, it should be raining all across Alabama by now. We're just on the backside of it. It's like there's a big hook in it, and we're right up in that hook where it stopped raining. But good to see all of you here tonight. I was trying to get joined in right at 7 o'clock. I hit go, and it kept kicking me back off. So now I'm back on, so we'll see how long it runs. My wife's probably mad at me. I went in there and made her cut her TV off. I said, you're using up all my internet. So I'm going back now and looking. All the comments. Mark, that's called sauce meat. Down south, we call it hog head cheese. It's basically the scrap meats from the pig cooked down with a whole bunch of other stuff. But now we buy that in a local grocery store here. I don't know where all. It's probably a southern thing. I do not know that. A lot of people make it around here. I have never made it. I really don't even know exactly what all in it. I do think it has pork brains in it, supposedly. I don't know exactly what all is in it. It's one of them novelty things. A lot of people around here be like, oh, I ain't eating that. Huckleberry, my favorite squirrel recipe would definitely have to be deep fried. There's nothing better than just flouring and dropping them in hot grease like you do fish. Now, I do like them in a Dutch oven with some potatoes and onions and carrots and all such as that. I am wanting to do a recipe with a rabbit here pretty quick in a Dutch oven with pineapple. I've seen that done with some beef roast. I'm going to try it with a rabbit. I think that pineapple and rabbit would be money. So anyway, that's right, Uncle Sasquatch, everything but the squeal. Whatever they couldn't sell for something else went into sauce meat. It's like a hot dog weenie, really, if you want to know the God's honest truth. You'll eat that hot dog weenie, but they won't eat that hot dog cheese, hog head cheese. My island top, it is wood. When I first built that island has a story behind it in my kitchen. I had some big old slabs of oak about this wide. I had cherry strips through the middle, and they were about, I don't know, 2 inches thick. And we put that glaze coat, which is basically a resin, across the top. And it was cold when I done it, and it never hardened. I mixed the second batch up and tried to go over it, and most of it hardened, but it reacted with the other under there that didn't harden and separated, and I just stripped it off, and that's a piece of birch cabinet wood on the top, and we stained it with that ebony stain, and that is what it is right now. I wanted it was supposed to be like a huge butcher block, and it's still under there, and I could probably still one day fix it, but I don't know at this point. That was a battle that I lost in my house build is what it was. No thanks, I'm a hillbilly, but that's where I draw the line. Oh, Lord. So, Vicky, you have made it. I need you to email me a recipe. We'll make a video on making it. I've never made it. I will attempt it. Yeah, I was under the impression that they put the head in a pot and boiled it down and got everything off the skull, pulled the skull out and cooked it down to like a paste and added whatever they was going to add into it. That's kind of what I thought. I do not know. Like I said, I ain't never made it. Huckleberry, as soon as deer season is over here, we gonna go full on squirrel hunting. And like I said, I did a little the other day, but I'm gonna take Roscoe. Deer season will be over and out of my hair. Hopefully this next week I can get some deer meat. I'm gonna hunt the first couple of days next week. I've got to work on pottery today and tomorrow. I didn't film anything today, so there won't be a video tomorrow. I got pottery orders, y'all, backing me up. So I've got to do some pottery. I wanted to get some deer meat in the coming week or so before deer season ends, and then we want to go squirrel hunting. I got me a one tigress underquilt for my hammock. I want to go down there and do a cold weather spending night in a hammock, do some camping. Cause I'm wanting to do some more camping, survival type stuff, fire building, all of that sort of thing that we haven't done much of. And I'm gonna focus on that hopefully in the near future. I just miss being in the woods, and right now when it's deer season, that place is so full of people you can't get down there safely and camp anywhere because somebody will come walking up in whatever you're doing with a rifle, and I mean it tapers off toward the end of the year. People's had their feel on it, and they've had enough of it, so it'll peter out. But now there's still a lot of good squirrel hunting down there. The young man that was injured, they set him up in a wheelchair. He tolerated being set up for several hours, I was told. They keep Facebook updated, and there is I think a Facebook group or page, or they share and post anyway. His mama updates pretty regular, and we keep up with how he's doing. Still not good, but is somewhat improving. So, young man's got a long journey ahead of him. I'm telling you, he does. So far, Charlie, we are right around a little over $1,000 raised. I have got everybody's money. Now, I want to tell you, if you have sent a check, the check is still in this envelope, okay? I have not cashed them. I will not cash your checks that you send me until I am ready to do something, which will be middle of February. I think the 17th is the date they have set for a benefit deal that they're doing. I may go and try to be a part of that, and I'll hand his mama and daddy the money, and it'll be whatever. I've already pulled everything out of my PayPal this week and put it in this envelope because I didn't want something to happen to it online and it be not where I want it. So it's all in cash now in this envelope, and I've got it stuck in my bookshelf. But we're a little over $1,000. But y'all buy all the chances you want to buy. I've got a notepad in there. I am writing everybody's name and how much they gave. And every $10 you give will go toward chances on this knife. Johnny, the best size shot for a 20 gauge. The lower the size of the shot, like number 4 is bigger shot than number 6. I like 7.5s for a lot of things, but for squirrel, I favor number 6. I have shot number 4s. Number 4s give you a bigger shot, will kill bigger game. Like if you're going to rabbit hunt, you shooting maybe some bigger animals, coons, such as this. But you got less shots in the shell. So if you need to cover a wider pattern and put more shots, 7.5, 6s is somewhere where I lean. Probably I'm going to grab the number 6s if I'm going, and that's 12 or 20, and that's my personal preference. I'm not going to say that there's a wrong, like, you can't use that. I think anything you want to shoot will work. Travis Nichols, he sent me 2 of those squirrel calls. Moss's Creek Outdoors. He's got a YouTube channel. He sells those calls. He makes them. Contact him. He'll be glad to get you one. He sent me 2 of them. They're just alike. He has several different calls. But yeah, that is the only squirrel call I know of that I have. Now, you can make them out of different stuff, and you take 2 quarters and tap them and rub them and several different things for a squirrel call. But now, my barking and stuff, I do with my mouth. And I've just, from sitting there under a tree, watching squirrels run around while I was deer hunting, get to messing with them and learned how to do that. That's the best way to do it. That's like a man that learns to turkey call with his mouth. I know a guy over here that, man, he'd call a turkey up with his mouth, don't need a call of any kind, and he'd do it. He's good at it. And it's not from turkey hunting. He used it turkey hunting, but it's from being deer hunting, and turkeys come up and you sit there and mess with them while you deer hunting when you don't care if they run off or what. That's how you learn to do that kind of stuff, or in my opinion, that's how. I mean, you can learn to do it in sitting in your bedroom, you know, if you want to. Oh, Uncle Sasquatch, I hadn't seen a lot of number fives around here. I know you're in Tennessee, so you're going to have probably different distributors there. They handle different stuff. Here, it goes from sixes, 7.5s, and number fours is about all you see. Uh, but now they cater to what people normally buy. So if they bought a bunch of number fives and nobody bought them, they probably wouldn't order anymore. I don't know. But I don't know that I've ever hunted with number fives. I don't know that I've ever seen number fives here. I'll have to look. Now you got me curious. And I hadn't been, I went by that pawn shop today and I didn't stop and go in, but it's right beside our post office and I forgot to go in there today. Uncle Sasquatch will know what I'm talking about. Shells is how, Larry Alexander. They are outrageous. That's like this one. This is my extra 270 short mag bullet that I keep in my pocket. I keep my rifle loaded and I keep this one in my pocket. And I've got about a half a box over here in the bottom of my gun cabinet. And I shot one at a coyote one day, and that's the only round I've fired this year out of that rifle. Mark Lancaster said New Year's resolution. I don't make New Year's resolutions. I ain't against it. I just don't. I'm of the persuasion that when you decide you need to fix something and change, do better, you do it. You start right then. That wait until the New Year. Well, I'm gonna be a. But now, hey, if a new year motivates you to start something, you by all means do it. Make a resolution and go for it. I am not against it. Eric, could you do a video on cleaning your muzzle loader? I'll try to do one, but go look up Uncle Sasquatch Outdoors. You see him commenting right above your comment. He's got a YouTube channel that specializes in muzzle loading stuff. I'll bet you he's got a good video on it. If you'll go back and look, search his videos, I'll bet you he does. He's got a lot of black powder videos, muzzle loading, and he is a wizard on it. You welcome, Uncle Sasquatch. I love you. He's my buddy now. But yeah, I will try to do one, to put one on my channel, because I need to. And I need to clean my flintlock before I go back to the woods with it. I cleaned it before I put it up, but I probably didn't scrub it. Larry, I hadn't bought buckshot, and I don't know when. Travis Nichols, thank you. Brody loves for us to get packages, whether it's his or mine or whose. Every time a box shows up, like today, UPS drove up and brought me my underquilt for my hammock. I ordered from Amazon. It's a one tigress. So I want to go string all that up sometime first of next week. I may string it up and film it tomorrow if it's dry, and just to check it out and see how it all works and how comfortable. But I'm itching to do some camping. I've been promising, but I've had so much going on. But this year I am going camping. I want to. I like it. Well, Uncle Sasquatch, that gives you a video to do, and I'll try to do one too, but you got people needing a muzzle loader cleaning video. That gives you a good video to work on this week. Because I probably won't get one out this week. I've got a lot of other stuff I'm wanting to do. I never run out of ideas for videos. And Wendy Pierce, I don't think I made a video. I did a video on the Greenbrier route, but basically all I did was took a jar and packed in rabbit tobacco, goldenrod with the leaves and the flowers, turkey tail mushroom for the immune building qualities, and then I covered it with Red Label vodka, that Taka vodka, and let it sit for 30 days, and then I strained it off and put it in another bottle. And my wife has been taking it some this past 2 weeks. Everybody's been sick. I took it too, and I thought, well, it didn't work. You know, I got sick anyway. I was sick for about 2.5 days. I found out that other people in this neighborhood been sick for 2 weeks. So, now my sinuses, I'm still sneezing, but not completely stopped up, but I'm still coughing some and such as that. I'm still fighting some symptoms, but they not near about like what a lot of other people have been doing. You have to go help him film that one. Y'all gonna have to get outside and get him out of that chair in that basement. Oh, Lord. Brody is in his bedroom in there with army men scattered all over there playing with his ranger station. He's actually been gone for 2 days. My wife, my daughter tested positive for COVID, so she's locked in her room like a prisoner. My wife's sliding her food under the crack under the door. Not that bad, but Brody has been at his grandma's. He stayed gone for 3 days. He just come home today. So I ain't seen Brody in 3 days till we got home today. But he seen the UPS man up here, and did we get a package? And it was my hammock underquilt. So he saw that and we got all excited. So yeah, we like to get presents and gifts and stuff, but it does make me feel good whenever people let you know that they like what you're doing and want to send you gifts, y'all. So, Travis, thank you for sending us stuff. We really appreciate it. Brandon Morris, the 50 cal. I've got two 50 calibers that need a barrel. One is an Investa Arms. It's the one I shot it about 3 years ago, and it was scattered all over. I shot Sabbath, or not Sabbats, but I shot maxi balls and round ball in it. Couldn't get none of that to group. I even shot it again this year off camera just to see if the maxi balls would work, and it's terrible. There ain't no hope for it either. So the other one is a what is it? I'll have to go get it and look. It's a Thompson Center, I think. It's a Hunter Hawken, whatever it is. I think it's a Thompson Center Hunter Hawken. I had found a barrel off of Deer Creek for $115. Oh, but you can get on my Facebook, Spirit of the Outdoors Facebook, and message me there. We can talk, or you can email me at justinpeden@gmail.com. That's JUSTINPEDEN @gmail.com. And yeah, Uncle Sasquatch is a CVA Hunter Hawken. Me and Uncle Sasquatch had been conversing back and forth about it. I couldn't remember. I hadn't had it out in 2 weeks. The Benelli is a 12 gauge, Jenny. Um, that Benelli, I'll tell y'all a story about it in a little while. I dropped it at the bottom of the creek several years ago, but my wife bought that for me for Christmas one year. That is probably one of the best gifts that she's ever bought me out of our whole marriage. Because I have still got it, still use it, and if I need to gather meat up like I need to collect some meat, that's the gun to tote. I've got an 870 that I got a turkey choke and all in, but I hate to shoot squirrels with the turkey choke, and I hate dragging out all the stuff and looking for the chokes and swapping them out. It's easy just to grab the Benelli if I'm going squirrel and duck hunting and need to really hit them. I love my single shots, but the pattern is not tight enough that if they're 30 yards, if it don't, it's liable to sprinkle them and they run off and not but like 2 pellets hit the squirrel. Well, I don't like injuring stuff, so I get frustrated with that kind of stuff. So you got a CVA barrel. Man, what are you talking about? We liable to get to hunt with it this year if it works out. Charlie, I bought that reel at Bass Pro Shop. Me and Brody and Michelle had went to Eaton Jackson and went to Bass Pro Shop just looking around. And they had this Crappie Max. It's a Crappie edition. It's a Bass Pro Shop series reel. It was about $50. They were like a $70-something reel, and they had a bunch of them on sale that night. And I got it, and it was it's a 4 or maybe 4 foot 6 inches. It's either 4 foot or 4 foot 6 inches, but it is a Crappie Max. But it's a little green Bass Pro Shop reel, and I love it. Now I bought another one at Walmart that comes into 2 pieces so I could strap it to the back of my pack. But twice I have been crappie fishing with it and throwed it and it separate. And one time it broke the bait off and went out in the middle of the pond, and it was cold. It was like early this past February, and I didn't want to go out there, or maybe in March. Anyway, it was still cold, and I didn't want to wade out there and get it. And I waited till in the summer and went back, and it was in my boat, and I got out and waded around and felt it with my toes and got my rod tip back and put it back in the boat. And I've got it back. I don't use it a whole lot. But I love a mini rod. And I guess that is probably from watching Richard Jean, the fishing machine. Now, I don't go down to a 2-pound test like he does. Mine is spooled with Mr. Crappie 4-pound test line. And I normally fish a 1/16 ounce jig head. And I like to throw that little mini rod. And when you hang a crappie and that little short rod is a lot of fun. Now you can't throw as far with a short rod as you can a longer 6-foot rod, and I keep one usually with me just in case. But I'm slowly starting to get to a minimalist, and I have struggled with this for a long time. I always take way too much junk when I go. But I have the mindset of while I'm doing whatever I'm doing, if something goes wrong, I want to be able to fix it. I want to have enough stuff and my thinking is, well, if I go brim fishing today and the brim won't bite and there's grinnell rolling in the water, well, I want to be able to change up and start grinnell fishing. Or if I'm, grinnell fishing and I can't get a grinnell to hit and I see a brim bed over there, well, I can change over and go to brim fishing or bass fishing or crappie, a lot of different, and that's my thinking, I guess. And I struggle. I wind up with a huge tackle box full of all kind of stuff because I'm scared I'm gonna get down there and want something that I ain't got. But I'm getting to where I can take one rod and a handful of baits and go crappie fishing. I can't hardly do that grinnell fishing because they tear up too much stuff. But a lot of times I can go crappie fishing with the pole and the bait on it. And if I'm not down in that swamp in like limbs, I can fish all afternoon with one bait. unless I'm really wearing out the fish. Now, if you're catching a lot of fish, you'll have to throw the plastic part away after about 8 or 10 fish and get another one, or I do. Mark, we don't shoot a lot of clay discs, but now we have got a fine skeet thrower. We call them skeets here. But clays, the round clays, we've got an automatic, hook it to a battery mash button. My daddy bought it several years ago when they was my sister's daughter and her boyfriend had got to shooting skeets and coming up here wanting to shoot, and I had got a new Browning shotgun. I think my daddy had just bought that double barrel 28 gauge. He's got I think it's a side by side 28 gauge. And we got to shoot skeets, and I think one year we shot skeets, and he bought one of them automatic skeet throwers, and then it's been sitting in the skinning rack over there. We ain't shot skeets probably the last 3 years, but we don't never really have a good place to dove hunt. I've tried to fix a dove field the last couple of years, and there's just not a lot of birds here. There's been times in the past that I could gather up enough birds to shoot at, but they just ain't a lot of dove hunting around in this part of the country. There's not a lot of fields. Everything's thickets now, and doves don't survive. We don't have any quail anymore. We used to have what we call the bobwhite quails, and you don't never see them anymore. We're just now getting the kildees back. There was a lot of kildees in the cow pastures, and then they all vanished, but now they starting to come back some. I ain't heard a whippoorwill in 3 or 4 years. Now, that could be partly because I'm hard of hearing, but a lot of other people ain't heard them either. Sean Deaver, I did not seal it. I sprayed it and left it alone, but now I haven't toted it a whole lot. But it has held up. I mean, I turkey hunted with it 2 different years, and I probably went a total of 4 or 5 times. And this is it. I've got a turkey choke in it, but it has held up fairly well. Now, you see there's some places that it is rubbed off, but I mean, the brown showing through don't bother me. And obviously right under there, it's rubbed off some. But I'll tell you the reason I painted this one is I bought it in a pawn shop, and it already had a horrible paint job on it. And they had it marked way down because of that. And I said, I can solve that gun's problems. And it is a good 870. And you know, I really had forgot I even had this shotgun. That's how long it's been since I've been turkey hunting. I need to, what I need to do is go squirrel hunting with this turkey choke. I guarantee you, with them Rios that I was shooting, that I can reach out there with them number 6s, and I could shoot a squirrel from a pretty good ways away with that. If I had to shoot him pretty close, I might not have nothing left. He'd be tender. Wouldn't be tough. Excuse me. But I am not against painting a gun. I started to paint my AR-15, but I did pull mine out. Mine had a stainless barrel under the black everything else, the whatever you call it, heat guard, heat shroud, or whatever up there. And I took everything apart and painted just the barrel OD green under it and put it back in and put everything back together. So I don't like stainless, and I've got a Browning 270 under the bed, locked up in a case that is stainless, and it's a left-handed like my 270 short mag. Y'all notice my chair's leaked down? I need a new chair. I'm gonna have to get me one. I spend a lot of time in it fooling with this. Eight-foot elm rod. Well, y'all remember I did a short where I hung up some bamboo out there for fishing poles. It is still hanging there. Next spring, when fishing season rolls around, we'll pull them down and make us a good hand fishing pole and go see if we can catch some fish with them. One of them had a crook in it that never did straighten out. Sean Deaver, and that black is another thing I'm not a fan of. And I did paint my rails on my truck black, but I did that because the plastic door trim was all black. But now whenever I put my bracing in there, I'm gonna have to touch up some areas. I may repaint the whole thing. I don't know. We're gonna run it for a little while like it is. I've got some ideas about bracing my rack that I think I like, but I hadn't sold myself on it. I know I've had a lot of people tell me I needed to brace it because of this, that, and the other, and I totally agree. The reason I haven't braced it is I haven't found what I want to brace it with yet, or decided for sure how I want to brace it. So I do 100% agree it needs some bracing, but I'm just trying to decide. Whatever I do is going to be permanent, and I don't want to be cut. Well, I don't like this. So what I've got in the back of my brain is cutting some hog panel, which is the 2x4 squares of that heavy gauged metal, hog panels, and cutting me 2 1-foot wide strips and running them horizontal, like the 30 something, I think it's 32 inches between those rails. So I would have 2 panels front and back on either side. That way I could go on the inside and bungee hook stuff to it if I needed to. It would create me a hanging point and an anchor point and I just could see a lot of other benefits to that. Might want to mount me a shovel up in there to it, and I could do that with bungee straps or zip ties or, something that would clamp it in there. I might design me some screw clamps with a wing nut or something where I could stick it in there and then clamp it tight. So I've got some Uncle Sasquatch can probably help you with that underground. If he's still in there, he's probably watching. He ain't commented, but you've got 12 gauge, 32 inch barrels made by Hunter Arms. They named the gun the Fulton. Never heard of it. But there's a lot of old 12 gauge double barrels that's of various creators out there. I have seen some in Facebook posts on gun groups back when they used to let you have a gun group. You know what I mean? Eric, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like plastic stocks either, but I have got a little Savage 17 HMR that I dearly love that has a plastic stock. But I am a fan of wood stocks, and that 870 right there has got all wood stocks. Somebody just painted it horribly, and I just painted over it because that was the easiest thing to do, and I camouflaged it for a turkey gun, and I hadn't looked back. But I like wood. I like wood and blued barrels. Jim Conley, the canoe is going to lay across the cab and the rack. I know a lot of people have been concerned about padding. I solved that problem today. What I did is I went to a local I don't know if y'all remember here a couple weeks ago when we was doing live, I talked about Frank Tanks. It's Jerome Tanks. It is a local, personally owned mom and pops type store that has a lot of hardware type stuff in it. One of the last stores left like that. You can go in there and buy all different clothes. In fact, let me show y'all what I got from there today. This is a result today of a trip to Frank Tanks. 2 bandanas at a price of 98 cents each. I got 2 colors right there. I need to put them in my box. I got a pair of blue jeans. I don't wear name brand stuff. I could care less what name is on something. That's like these women toting these Stanley cups. Now, I like Stanley products. Stanley makes a good tape measure, or used to. You go to Walmart and they got pretty good ratchets. They've made coffee thermoses for years, but all of a sudden they made this cup and painted it. And all of a sudden every woman in America's got 2 of them. One for each hand. I don't care nothing about name brands. Unless it works better. And that's like the Yeti, you know. So anyway, these pants, there's some, I don't even know what that name is. Never heard of them. But you see that price? You see that price? $11.95 for a pair of blue jeans. That's my kind of style right there. So anyway, what I was getting at for the padding, see, I'm gonna wrap the rails with canvas. Canvas tarp will be here Tuesday, it says. I ordered an 8x10. So putting something on the rails only solves one problem. It only pads the rail. It does not protect the canvas from being rubbed. It also does not protect my cab from being rubbed where I just painted all the top of my truck. I don't want the canoe laying on it. So I bought some pipe insulation because pool noodles only come in bright colors and pipe insulation comes in black. And I put that all the way down the rails of my canoe. 4 sticks of it. 4 4-foot sticks, or I think it was 5 or 6 foot sticks. I think they were 6 foot. Cause 4 of them covered the whole, both sides all the way. And that solved 2 problems. It pads the whole canoe when I lay it upside down on them rails in the cab and the canvas once it's on there. But it also stops all that beating and banging I'm doing down there when I'm trying to fish and got a paddle and I'm trying to deer hunt or duck hunt and lay that paddle here, there, and yonder. Now I can take that paddle and lay it up there right across in front of me and it don't make a sound. It's laying on padding. So I solved, that's what we call killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I just thought y'all would appreciate that. I'll show it in a video here in a day or 2 when I get out there and go to film and everything. And probably when the canvas gets here, we'll mount the little brackets. I've got my brackets painted black, them stainless steel ones. I got to put them on the side of the truck. We're probably going to put whatever I put in there for a brace, and I'm still deliberating on that. And we'll do a video on all the updated mods. Prelude Recycled Paradise. Love Frank Tanks. So you're local. I don't know. I probably know who you are, but I don't know you by this name. But I do love Frank Tanks now. They call it Jerome Tanks now, but it's always been Frank Tanks. Yeah, Brandon, we need to get Roscoe. And soon as deer hunting season is over, now I'm going to tell y'all, it's hard to get Roscoe up in the mornings, but Roscoe does good in the afternoons because them squirrels is on the ground usually then anyway. But I do have some pool noodles. I had some up there, but I saved my pool noodles to fish with. We're going to take them and throw them all. I tell y'all what I want to do. I've got a bunch of Gatorade bottles. I pulled all the labels off, and I got a big old bag of glow sticks. And me and Brody going to go to Tom Bigby and get them one of them backwaters. And we're going to throw all them jugs out and stick glow sticks in them so we can see them out there bobbing around and go jugging. And that's what I'm ready to do. I am ready to go up there. We're going to take the camper, and we're going up there. We're going to play with some jugs and do some crappie fishing. I'm not going to take the lines the first couple of trips. I know y'all have seen me go to Tom Bigby with them big lines. Them big lines will work you to death. I can take a bucket of deer liver and cut it up in little giblets and go out there and throw it on them hooks. And we can catch catfish about like this at Tom Bigby in them back sloughs, edge of the river all day long, or at least all night long. I like to do that at night because you can see them jugs bouncing, and we're gonna go do that here for long. Probably end of February is when I'm shooting for that. Maybe middle of February. I don't know. You never know when I'm on. But my boat is all ready to go. Yeah, Oak Tibby is pretty good jug. You know, I have never been down there and done that there. I got a buddy of mine that goes and does it. Some, anyway. They do a lot. I know some folks that go down there and do a lot of hand grabbing at Oak Tibby. They've caught some pretty good catfish down there. I done seen pictures out of Oak Tibby. Some good cats if they know where their boxes are and got them. We'll probably fish Oak Tibby some this year. Now you can hand pole in Kemper Lake, but they won't let you do any jugging in Kemper Lake. They said that is highly frowned on. Johnny, it don't appeal to me right off the top, you know, just talking about it. Just me running my hand up in a hole, you know. But now, if I ever done it a time or two and got comfortable with it, I probably would like it, but I'm not itching to go do it, I'll tell you that. But now they ain't, I don't know. I hadn't made my mind up on it. I'm afraid of what I liable to feel when I run my hand up in there, you know. If it's a catfish, I'm all right with that. But if it's got little ridges on its nose, you know, I guess you got to know how big the hole is you sticking your hand in. Exodus 20 don't do it. There's a lot of folks that do it. Oh, that girl down there in Alabama, her and her daddy, they do it. They done got famous doing it. I don't watch them much. That's a weird couple of folks down there. Me and them we ain't on the same page. Yep, that'd be them, Eric. That's who I'm talking about. I don't watch them. Me and them we don't agree on life viewpoints, I don't think. Oh, Joanne, I missed your comment. You take these Gatorade bottles, you know, they're like the 32-ounce Gatorade bottles, and you tie a line about, I don't know, 2-3 foot, somewhere in that, give or take, and you put a hook, lead, and then there's nylon line, straightforward, really simple. I usually just put my limb lines on the jug, and you can wrap it around the jug and put it down in a jug or whatever and screw the top on it till you're ready to put them out. But you break the glow stick, stick it inside the bottle, and well, it lights up like a light, and you can see it out there across the water bouncing around, and you know yours from everybody else's. A lot of people put reflective tape around them where you can see them with a light, but I like the glow sticks. The only problem with the glow stick is you got to put a new one in there every night that you run them. But now you can go to Walmart and for $10 you can buy this big giant bag of glow sticks. So it's, I mean, I'm poor, but I ain't that poor. You know what I mean? I can buy a bag of glow sticks. $10 for one night of fun is cheap, really. I mean, I know a lot of people spend a lot more than that. Larry, I think me and you agree on that. I think me and you on the same page. Oh, Jasper James, hey to you and Jenny. Glad y'all enjoy it. Welcome to the family. Diana Bowen wants to hear about dropping the gun with the water. Okay, let me tell this story, y'all. This has been back. Well, the gun was fairly new. This is the Benelli. It's down there in the shed. I had to show you, but it's a Benelli Nova. And that was really when Benellis were first getting popular. And this was about a $600 gun versus the automatic is about a $1,200 gun. And this is in early 2004, 5, 6, somewhere along in there. I don't remember exactly what year. Oh, but had this. My buddy Anthony down the road lives down here. He's had a boat that we call the Kanak, and it's a wide, really stable canoe basically with a flat back, and it ain't but about 12 foot long, short. We had a trolling motor on the back, but this thing you could stand up, walk around in it. I mean, it's wide and flat and stable and got a sharp point. Worked really good. You're not going to paddle it a whole lot. It's a little bit not designed for paddling. It's designed for a trolling motor, really and truly. So he's in the back driving. I'm in the very front with the Benelli, and we duck hunting. And we come around a bend, and these ducks will get up. And there was another guy, my buddy Dustin Posey, was in the boat with us. So there's three of us in this little 12-foot boat, and we down here in the creeks, and we traveling around with a trolling motor. And when you'd come around a bend, man, ducks would just get up and go everywhere. Well, I was shooting at them. Well, I was up on the front seat of this thing. Now, there's ice in the shallows out there because we over in the afternoon. So we've been up to about 40 degrees up in the day, getting down in the 20s at night. So the water is cold. I don't know exactly what temperature it was, but there was ice on the edges. It wasn't ice all the way across it, or we wouldn't have been traveling it. But where it would get still, you know how it does on the edge of these creeks it's flowing. In the still areas, there'll be ice around the edges. And we traveling around, and we shot 3 or 4 ducks. I mean, we wasn't just loading up on them, but we was having a good time. And I was up on my knees, you know, I was ready. We was fixing to come around this bend, and I said, if they there, I'm going to get them. And that trolling motor hung a log under the water, and I like to went over the front. And my buddy Dustin, he grabbed my jacket and pulled me back, and I got back, sat down, and I was like, whoo, man. I was like, that was close. I like to went in. He looked at me, he said, where's your gun? I looked around, I said, oh, man. Well, in my panic situation, to keep me from going in the water, I grabbed both sides. Well, I throwed the gun in the water. Well, the gun is mostly synthetic material, ABS like. It's no wood on it, but it's not like the plastic that some of these newer rifles made out of. It's more of a dense material, but there's a lot of metal parts, obviously. I didn't want to leave it in the water. I mean, and none of this swamp, y'all, is like very deep. Most everywhere down there is about 4 to 6 foot deep when it's full. Now, there are some areas on down where I'm going now, back further down it into the main river, that gets 8 to 10 to maybe 12 foot deep. I know of maybe 2 or 3 holes that's over 12 or 14 foot deep. And they are very rare. And I don't even know how deep they are, but they're not real deep. So where we at, I pretty well know I can stand up in the water. So, I mean, like, finding the gun is not the problem. The problem is the water's cold. And I mean, if I get in and get all my clothes wet, we got to go home right then. So I pretty well strip off to nothing, get in the water, and find my gun. I'm holding on to the side of the boat, and I find the gun with my toes, and I go down and I get it. I put my gun back in the boat, climb in, and put all my clothes back on. And you talking about cold? But we hunted the rest of the evening and killed several more ducks with that shotgun after it had been to the bottom of the creek. So I got a knife and a gun that has been in the bottom of that creek down there. Jeff, how you are? Weston, how are you, buddy? You got you a hog? You killed a deer and had to butcher a hog. So how big a deer did you kill? I bet it was a giant. El Mucho Grande. It was old Split Toe, wasn't it? Some of y'all have to tell Weston who Split Toe is. I bet some of you know. Somebody's got to know who Split Toe is. Well, Tommy, I've got a string tied to a magnet now that I keep down there in the shed, but it won't find a fishing pole. I'll tell you what I did do with it. I got a grappling hook down there, and it's a speaker, is what it was, old speaker I had, and I use it to retrieve a beaver. I put a 330 Conibear in, and anyway, I put a 330 Conibear in, and I just put the stakes in the side, and I was like, well, that beaver ain't on. He runs in there, he's caught. So I didn't stake nothing off, and y'all, I had a beaver that left with a 330 Conibear trap, and I knew he went in the water with it because there wasn't no evidence of him coming up the muddy bank with it. So I went down there the next day. Well, no, it was later that afternoon. I checked the traps that morning, and I went back later that afternoon. I took my grappling hook and my magnet. So I throwed the magnet till I felt clink. So after I'd done that, then I knew right where it was at, and I kept throwing the grapple till I hung it. And with both of them, I pulled the beaver and the trap. I got my trap back and the beaver. That was about 3 years ago. Larry, I do know about it. They had old WW with them that day, didn't they? The waterfowl widowmaker. Well, Weston, a big deer, small deer, a deer's a deer. It's like I told them, you can't eat the horns. They make good dragging handles, and that's about it. So once you got some help to get him to truck, them horns ain't important no more. Jenny Hackworth, no, we went right on to hunting the rest of the evening, and when I got home, I got warmed up, but I got in the boat, put my dry clothes back on. I didn't get my clothes wet, so I warmed on back up and was good to go. Mark, I hadn't trapped anything this year. Things just hadn't worked out for me to get into the woods yet. I've just now got relieved of all my projects, I guess. And I tell you what has greatly hampered is it was so hot up until end of September, really warm through October. It wasn't hot, but it was too warm to want to kill stuff. My deal with is if I'm going to be skinning stuff, it's got to be cool enough that the flies leave me alone. I don't want to fight flies over hides, meat, anything. I skinned one bobcat that I got out of a roadkill situation, and I fought the flies over it. I mean, I literally had to spray it the thing down with mosquito repellent 3 times while I was skinning it, and that just kind of done me for hunting up until then. When I worked on projects and it got cold, and I've just now started hunting. Vicky, I have got 2 deer hides laying out here. My buddy Anthony killed a deer and I wrapped it up and put it up down there. It ain't even been fleshed. I've got one that my dad killed a doe that I need to do, but I hadn't. I don't know. I just hadn't got into the want to tan, and I don't know. Mark, I do start some seeds for the garden, but I'm getting to where I start less and less. It's a huge undertaking. I wish I had a greenhouse to put my stuff in. I would really do it then. Right now, I have to move stuff in and out, and it makes it frustrating. David Russian, the rut is on here too. It's full on. Sean Deaver, I don't really call any. They call themselves. I've got one sick right now that ain't gonna make it through the week. And I might could cure him with plantain if I had fresh plant. It's hard to get a chicken to eat a dried plant. But at this point, this chicken's not eating anything. One of them roosters, I don't know what happened to him, and he'll cull himself. But I don't really. I probably should have culled this, and I just didn't have time at the moment to get him out and cull him. But I've learned that if they can't get over something on their own, that they just as well to cull them. But I really hadn't focused on my chicken raising, and I doubt I'm gonna raise a bunch this year because I want to fish and camp and do other stuff. And for the last 2 years, I have focused on gardening and trying to raise chickens. And I'll be honest with you, my gardening videos don't really do that well. I mean, there's a few people that probably really like it, but as a whole broad scheme, I do better with fishing videos than I do gardening videos. But I still make whatever video I want to make, whatever I'm doing. I want to do some more camping and stuff, and it's hard to do that when you got baby chickens and seeds started, and all that stuff requires everyday some attention, watering it and checking on it. And you can put 2 weeks worth of work into baby chickens or seedlings and be gone for 2 days and they not get watered and be dead when you get back. You know what I mean? So it puts a damper on getting to do a lot of other stuff. Jerry Short, I could see that. I've stuck a barrel of a gun in the mud a time or two, not on purpose, but you don't do that many times. I know some boys has blowed the barrel all to pieces doing it too. Tommy Litchfield, I seen that video of them bucks fighting down at Madison last night. They was tied up. Somebody had filmed a good video of them. I didn't watch a whole video, but I did see them fighting. Tennessee, I've been out of motivation most of this fall as far as hunting, I think. And my hunting season and killing deer has been a result of it. I ain't done anything, but now I'm now getting somewhat motivated over the sickness, over the projects. The week that I was really gonna hunt, I had everything planned, loaded the buggy, everything. Went and filmed that fishing video, and I got sick that night. In fact, that was the last live we did that night. It's been 2 weeks ago, and so I don't know. Dustin, I'll be probably back in the canoe at some point next week. I'm going probably Monday, Tuesday, probably 2 days next week. I'm going to go to the swamp and hunt. I don't know that I'll be in the canoe. Probably what I'm going to try to do is focus on hunting, and I'll use the canoe just to cross the river and get to where I want to hunt and try to get some meat. But probably when squirrel season, one of the problems with spending a lot of time in the canoe right now is the water's so low you can't see what's out in the banks. So like I seen one deer the other day that was there. I could have shot the one I mentioned on camera. Hey, I'm looking at a deer over there and I don't know. Well, it was on the other side of the creek. My canoe was between us, and I had basically just walked back up to my canoe to get back in it and seen the deer on the other bank over there. Well, it just eased around a brush pile. It really didn't see me and like flee. Well, once I got in the canoe and started paddling, when I got around all them brush tops, I couldn't see anything but the bank. And the only way I would ever seen that deer again was to pull up on the bank, get out, and climb up the bank. Well, after all that racket, they ain't going to be a deer still standing right there. I mean, the leaves was so dry. Now, after this rain that we got tonight, the next couple of days would probably be good hunting. My buddy Casey's done text me tonight, want me to go with him tomorrow, but I am bad behind on pottery, so I have got to work on pottery tomorrow. And I've just got a lot that I need to be doing. Sean Deaver, that's what I use my chickens for, is the eggs and the enjoyment of fooling with chickens. Them game birds is not fit to eat if you want to kill them, so I am slowly transitioning away from so many different breeds of game birds and getting some other chickens for the sake of, hey, if I want to kill one and eat it, I can. So I'm struggling. I'm in that battle of decision because I really like the game birds better, but they're not worth a flip for, hey, I want to go kill a chicken and eat it. And, so... Vicky, I've put French fried potatoes on my hamburger. Does that count as a tater sandwich? I wish we was getting some snow, Cindy. You can go, my grandpa, he said, oh, you can track a rabbit in this. I tracked a bobcat one year it snowed here. I never found him, but I seen it, and he was up here close to my house, and I was like shocked. I was like, that is a bobcat track up here. And I know there's one or two around, but I very seldom see them. Sean, I have got the makings of a ghillie suit that I started making, but now I've got a net down there that I had the full intentions 2 years ago of making a veil out of it. I basically bought a cheap, just old net on Amazon, a cloth-like net. It's made out of cotton string, basically. And I was going to string it up and tie a bunch of stuff to it and make a ghillie veil just to drape over me. Because what I was already working on was a big old thick coat that was old and tore up, like Carhartt material. And I started, it's just, I don't know. It's made and hanging up on the thing down there in my shed. But I very seldom get it out when I'm going hunting. I feel like I'd get shot wearing it. There's just too many people on that post. If I had private land that I was the only one there and do like I wanted to, then but man, down there with all these folks on public land, now some of them down there are really good hunters. There's some people around here that really know what they're doing that go down and hunt. But You also get a whole bunch of people that have no clue what they're doing, and it's just a place to go hunt, and they, so you get the good with the bad, or the bad with the good, however that works. Snowing all day and 32 in Kansas. Bushcraft with a preacher, y'all. Stay by the fire, gas, heat, electric heater. I hope you got some backup heat. Down here, if it snows or something, our power's going out. I don't know how it is. Y'all ain't got no trees though in Kansas, do you? Grass won't hardly knock the power out. 3 to 6 inches, most we've had in a few years. Danita, how are you in Sunbright? Sean Deaver, you got a ghillie suit from Temu. Well, I had a representative from Temu contact me today via email and asked would I be interested in testing some Temu outdoor products. And I said, you know what? I would. And the reason I did is not because, hey, I think this gear is better than expensive gear, but I like to try to help people that may not have much money and be like, I'd like to buy this product and see if it's any count. And, sometimes when you buying cheap stuff, we're all well aware some of it is just as good and serves just as good a purpose as the expensive stuff. And then sometimes you get something and you go, my Lord, what kind of junk is this? And I promise you, I'll tell you what kind of junk is this. So let me tell you, instance, the bag I ordered, that camouflage bag that I had down there when I was working on the camp, and we put up the hammock. Man, the hammock, y'all, I think I'm going to like the hammock. Is it ideal? The loops that go around it are a little aggravating, wadding them up and putting them in the bag just for the packaging. But once you put the hammock up, I like that. So the bag is a really good bag. The buckles on it are garbage. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do a video one day where I cut all the buckles and stuff off, and we're going to order some good buckles or get something somewhere, or either put leather on it with some leather buckles or do something, but we're going to basically upscale it or improve it or whatever you want to call it. But the bag itself, the zippers, the pockets, the material seem really good. The strapping is really good. But the plastic connections are junk. They just refuse to spend a little money on some good connections. So it could use some improvements. And stuff like that is good to know. That would be the deciding factor. Well, you know what? For $10, well, it was like $7 or $8 the bag was. Well, it was well worth that. I mean, if you can, and most, I feel like a lot of y'all can fix things, do things sort of like I do. Maybe not everything I can do, but most of you know how to do stuff. And with that mentality, you can change the buckles and stuff out on a bag if you was to say, hey, I want one of them $10 bags because I like it. I like the color or the pockets or whatever. So they'll send us some Temu started sometime in the near future, and I'll test out. I don't know what kind of gear, if they're going to let me pick, or they're going to send me random stuff. So what I don't want is I don't want this channel to turn into a whole bunch of this is product review, just cheap product review. I don't want that, because I have already turned down, like, they've wanted to send me, there's a company wanting to send me chicken mealworms. I don't feed chickens mealworms. I hadn't even responded to the email. They wanted to send me a camping grill that you put charcoal, I reckon. So it's this little bitty grill. I have no use for that. You know, if you want to send me a little gas cooker that may get me out of a bind if it's wet, by all means, but a grill, I mean, I just don't need it, don't have no use for it. They wanted to send me a battery operated water purifier. I mean, I don't, if it's got to have batteries and I'm going to depend on it for my life, I don't want it, you know? So, I want to show products that, hey, I think this will help somebody. It ain't about I'm gonna make a fortune. I mean, it'll basically I'll be doing it to get free junk. You know, that's what I get out of it, and then a video. Backyard Beasley, my sleeping bag, the underquilt. I ordered one from One Tigress. It came today. We'll do a video on it next week, but I went ahead and bought one. I got my sleeping bag out and tried to make it. And could you make one work? Absolutely. You could put. The problem with the sleeping bag is it's really not quite long enough to do an underquilt on a hammock. You could make it work if you really needed to. You could by all means make it work. So I but I've got one from One Tigress, came today, and we'll hook everything up next week one day and test it out. Might even spend a night in it. I may get right back here somewhere on my property and spend a night. Leslie Byram, what do you think about the presence of mountain lions or cougars in the state of Mississippi? I have seen a mountain lion in this swamp back here. I have only seen one in my life, and it was a tan one. It was not a black panther, but everybody called them panthers. We've known there was some around here for years and years and years because you could hear them scream, and they called it the wild woman of the swamp, and they scared all the kids to death. Every old man sat around a campfire and talked about the wild woman of the swamp. And they had a lot of us convinced that they was this wild woman that lived down there in the swamp. But it was a panther that was down there. And the one I seen one night, we were running limb hooks, seen it with a light, and it had a big long tail. It was stood up on the lobby, and it was a big cat. But now I have not, that's been 15 years ago that I seen it. So I have never seen one since. Now the tracks I've seen bear tracks one time. And I seen two different sets of tracks. Same probably bear, but two different places, two different occasions within about 3 or 4 week period. And never seen that again, but we do know that in this area there are some black bears that are on tracking collars that pass through here. I think the last record I heard that they got tracking collars on 7 in the state of Mississippi. I'm not sure. You probably look that up on Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. I think they kind of keep an idea of what they've got tracked. Now, I'm sure there's some that don't have tracking collars, but there are a few big cats now. I'm not going to get into the black panthers. I think they can be a freak anything. I think they could be a white panther. You know, have I ever seen one? No. Did I ever heard anybody seen one? No, but I mean, there's white deer, so why can't there be a white something else? I've seen white squirrels one time in my life. I had never seen a white. Yeah, I did. I seen one white rabbit. Now we talking wild rabbit, not caged. New Zealand whites. Okay, Danita. They removed a knot on the outside of the lung. Waiting on results. Well, we'll be praying for you. Good thing that they got it. Take it easy. Rest. Heal up. God's got this. But we are all praying for you. Joseph, I need to bring it down there. And I thought about it, but I knew that Will had an accident. I didn't know if he was working on anything or not. Is the reason I haven't already brought it down there. But if he is, I have another something I want him to fix for me. I want him to fix my Honda Rubicon. I need to get it to where when my buggy has been down some because of odd and end stuff that I needed to fix, that I could fix, just saving up money to fix, but bushings, bearings, all such as that. I've got ball joints in a box down there now. I got to put them in this coming week. That should solve most of my stuff. But the four-wheeler won't crank. I've been told I've changed a starter, I've changed a battery, I put a battery in it, I changed something else. But come to find out, I think it is building up too much compression because the compression let off. Valves maybe got out of adjustment, got too tight, something's what I'm thinking. Anyway, it won't spin over. Because there's been times that it cranked right up and then it won't. So I don't know what's going on with that. In other words, the top end, from what I heard, has got to come off. I don't know that that's what's wrong, but I did know that he had an accident, and that's the reason I didn't come down there with that boat. But I do need to get that squared away because I'm ready to go fishing. And I guess he's about as good a boat mechanic as they are in this part of the country. So if you're in our local area and you're needing a boat mechanic, when he heals up, he's doing a little work again. He had a bad accident. I don't know the details to it, but I knew he got banged up pretty good, and I ain't gonna. So anyway, black bear starting to become an issue here in upper South Carolina. Well, Mike Reed's gathering them up off the side of the road, so he's helping y'all out. He didn't kill one, but I seen him. He's tanned one's hide. Prestige Water Sports. Is that the name of it? I didn't know what he had named his business. David Russian, I have seen Sasquatch down here in the swamp. He passed away, though, several years back. He's gone. He used to walk that swamp barefooted pretty regular. What is my favorite movie? That's a tough one. Because I favor a couple of old movies. Probably my favorite movie of all time I don't watch anymore because it has so much profanity in it. And I can't stomach it. I do not like profanity. If somebody cusses a lot, I'm through with them. I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to scold them and be like, you need to stop cussing. If they want to cuss, cuss. But I'm not going to be around you long. And it ain't because I just don't like it. And I used to cuss like a sailor myself. But after I fell in love with Jesus Christ and wanted to live a better life, I just simply don't like to hear it. I mean, it's simple as that. I mean, there really ain't a lot of scripture in the Bible specific to it that you can like put it in black and white. Now, there's a lot of stuff, even I mentioned, that every idle word, I mean, there's a lot of scriptures that'll lead to the fact that, you ought not do it. But the movie would be Tombstone. That movie was probably one of the most well put together movies. Several good actors that did really good playing their parts. The storyline was well put together. Had enough quotable lines in it that made everybody fall in love with it. And it was a Western. And it was based on a true story. Now, how accurate it was, I don't think it was like really, really accurate to the real events. But Tombstone was a really good movie. And it was one of my all-time favorites. If I had $1 for every time I had watched it, I could go on vacation. I could quote the movie. I can just about still quote it. Now, probably Jeremiah Johnson. I like The Mountain Men, but I don't watch it a lot for the same reason. A lot of profanity in it. Uncle Sasquatch, he shot that shotgun 3 times without reloading it. And also, when it was raining in that scene and Wyatt Earp was standing out there in it, 20 yards behind him, there was dust coming up. It just, that was the only 2 flaws in that whole movie that I found. But yeah, that would be... Tombstone was a good movie. I mean, I liked it. Yes, Diana Bowen, the young man, they put him in a wheelchair or set him up in a chair. I say a wheelchair. They set him in a chair today. He sat up for a while. His mama, they tolerated it. She was really happy about that. So he's making some progress. But he's got a long way to go. So Sam Allen, he is still improving. Got a long road ahead of him. Still needs a lot of your prayers. They still need a lot of help. They still need a lot of financial support. My PayPal, so email me, justinpeden@gmail.com. I'll get you a link to the PayPal, and however much you want to send, $10 a chance on the knife, and that's the way I'm doing it. You can donate however much you want to donate, but in $10 increments, you're getting a chance at the Bowie knife that I made. I have had people send me money and say, hey, I don't even want to win the knife. I've got enough knives, but I want to help. All well and good. However you want to do it, but... Tony Vickery, there's a guy in here said he had me a barrel for my muzzle loader. Said he had one that would fit it. Tennessee, like I said earlier, Temu is going to reach out to me. I have bought stuff. The stuff I have got off of Temu, I have been happy with. I bought a mic that plugs into the bottom of my iPhone that I could clip it to my shirt, and the audio quality out of it was junk. It crackled and popped, just sounded awful to me. It would work for some things, and I may try it out some more and see if I can get some better results out of it. But anyway, a lot of the other stuff, the hammock is very good, the bag is very good that I bought, but the buckles on the bag is garbage. The plastic snaps, garbage. Be careful how big something. A lot of times they got these tackle boxes on there with these poles and sitting there, and it looks like this big old tackle box. Well, when you really get to looking in some of the other pictures of it, it's really about this big, which is not a problem, but it's kind of misleading. I bought a bunch of rod sleeves. Well pleased with them. Slipped them on the rods that I had that didn't have rod sleeves on them work perfect. Those netted things, and they just basically keep the lines from all getting tangled up. So if you store them all in a rod locker in a boat, I bought, uh, what else did I buy off of there? I got something else. I can't remember now. But Hayes Davis ordered me them pliers that I grabbed the fish with, some scales and a couple different things for fishing. I've used that, worked very good. So but now they contacted me, want me to test some gear for Temu. I don't know how that's gonna work. I hadn't heard back from them, but I told them I would, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Charlie Pickerel, Lonesome Dove is a very good movie. I've got it laying right over yonder. Basically, all my favorite movies. I've got all of Clint Eastwood's westerns. I love Clint Eastwood, but now the movies probably wasn't as great as some others. Um, American Outlaws was a pretty good movie. Uh, uh, Young Guns was good movies. I like Young Guns 1 and 2. Return to Lonesome Dove was pretty good. Now, some of the other ones that went with the Lonesome Dove series, they went way back and did. I wasn't into all of them. Dances with Wolves is a really good movie. I like Dances with Wolves. I don't know, it's just something about that movie. I like it. Last of the Mohicans, I've got Jeremiah Johnson, Mountain Men. The Revenant was a good movie. A little bit gruesome and a lot of cussing in it too. I can handle some profanity. But when they start GDing it, I just can't I can't take it. I mean, you can leave that out and the movie still be just as good. So why put it in there? So anyway, I was trying to think of what else. There's another movie that I watch, which I don't watch a lot of movies anymore. Me and Brody watch McClintock pretty good. He hadn't watched McClintock in a while. But I really hadn't watched just a real good movie in a while. But now here, I'm going to tell y'all now. I like Lord of the Rings. I like The Hobbit. That's because I like that type of stuff. Those were long movies, a lot of detail, but I have read the books such as that. So that is why I like them. Also, like some of the old movies, like Ever After, good movies. But they're based on stories that I had read years ago. You know what I mean? That one, Ever After, I think, is based on the Cinderella story. It's pretty good, but it's not the Western type stuff that we like today. Then there's The First Knight is a good movie. So I like some of those like Knights and what was the one that had Sean Connery in it that was the Camelot? I liked it. I liked Troy. That movie Troy with Brad Pitt in it, that was good movies. So that's about my list of movies that I watch on a regular basis. And I'm trying to decide which one of Clint Eastwood's is my favorite one to watch. I would probably... The Outlaw Josie Wales was a good one. But probably Fistful of Dollars I liked. Tommy, True Grit was a good one that John Wayne did. Now, they come along and redid it after him with somebody else, but the John Wayne True Grit was pretty good. Sons of Katie Elder was a good one. And the Cowboys, that was where all the kids went, wasn't it? That was a good one. Which one was High Plains Drifter, Billy? Is that where they paint the town red? I can't remember. They painted the town in one of them. I've got all of them, but it's been a while since I watched them. Cool Hand Luke is a good movie. Now, it's been a long time since I seen Cool Hand Luke. I ain't no big fan of pizza. We eat some along. We usually keep some of those Red Baron pizzas. I grew up on them. But my daughter loves pizza, and Brody loves pizza, so we eat a good bit of pizza. But I'm not a huge fan of pizza. I will say pizza's easy. At least the way we do it. You get them box pizzas. Now, I like that. We had some called I think they were Sasquatch. Something. I don't know, they were these big giant pizzas, but we've got a Little Caesars now. Somebody will come through town and for $5 you can stop and grab a pizza, and it's hard to beat that. You can go get 2 pizzas for $10 and everybody can eat. The Count of Monte Cristo. Well, is Cindy, when you start leaning like we talking about off into stuff other than Westerns and all, I'm a huge fan of Sherlock Holmes. So there's 2 movies of Sherlock Holmes that I thought they did a really good job, the modern newer ones, but now the older ones, there was about 3 of them, The Hounds of Bakersfield and 2 or 3 more that they made in the 60s, I think, that they did a pretty good job. That's when they first started going into color with them. And they were real old, but they were good movies. But it's back then they focused on a storyline more than special effects, and that's what was so great about them. And now everything, they don't worry about how good the story is. They just want a bunch of special effects. And Sackets is a good. I've got the Sackets with Tom Selleck. What was the one with? There's another movie, the Conager, that's got Sam Elliott in it. That's a good one. Now the next movie that's way off out of left field. Well, 2 of them that I haven't watched in a long time because they really not clean and fit to watch, and you kids don't need to go watch them. It's been a long time since I watched them, but Sling Blade and Roadhouse. I know ain't none of y'all watch Roadhouse. Yeah, Uncle Sasquatch, wasn't it? Conager that had Sam Elliott, and then The Quick and the Dead. That's the one I liked with him. Not The Quick and the Dead where they have the shootout. This is where he is, I think he escorts, I can't remember exactly what happened. He does something on there, but, Conager is where he escorts the man and the woman across the prairie. The Quick and the Dead, Sam Elliott, and I can't remember exactly what happened, but he said, I like the way you talk. I watch Lucas Black, y'all. He's got a YouTube channel. If y'all don't follow Lucas Black on YouTube and Instagram, I would urge you to check him out. Lucas Black, Secondhand Lines is excellent, Larry. Lucas Black is genuine a country boy as they are. That's just got lucky and done a good job acting. And for those of you that don't know, Lucas Black is the young boy in Sling Blade. When he said, I like the way you talk, the little boy said, I like the way you talk too. Well, that little boy is Lucas Black, and he's been in several other movies, and he was in NCIS New Orleans for a while. But he lives right over here in Alabama somewhere, and he goes bass fishing. He's got his kids out shooting skeets in the yard, and I mean, you'd like Lucas Black in real life. Follow him on YouTube and Instagram. I think you'd be well pleased to see somebody that is famous, a movie star, and they still grounded and still preaching the gospel. This young man does I say young man, he's probably about my age, but he does devotions. He talks about the Lord. You'll like Lucas Black and genuinely. You know, a lot of actors, once they go to Hollywood and get famous, they lose their connection to reality. He hadn't. Yep, I forgot about that, Tommy. He was in Friday Night Lights. Oh, brother, where art thou? Yeah, I've got to put Oh, brother, where art thou up there real close to the top of the list. In fact, I watched it about 3 weeks ago. I sat right over there, laid in that bed, and laughed. He said, I thought you was a toad. He said, we mass communicating. He said, this is the Pappy O'Donnell Flower Hour. He said, come on, Pappy, ain't you going to do a little politicking? Oh, Delmar, he said, come on in, boys. The water is fine. He said, the Lord's done washed away all my sins and transgressions, including that Piggly Wiggly I knocked over in Yazoo. He said, I thought you said you was innocent of those charges. He said, well, I lied. But the preacher's done washed away that too. Oh, Lord. Ronnie Bonham, well, I thought Conager was the one where they escorted the family across the desert because he kept falling in love with her, and I remember her calling him Conager, I thought. No, that's the Quick and the Dead. Conager is where the woman was lonely out on the prairie and kept tying the notes to the tumbleweeds that blowing in, and he showed up on the cattle ranch. That was Conager. Okay, you right, you right. We got it straightened out now. Tommy, he said, them sirens, they did this to them. to, now I can't think of his name. It was Delmar and Everett and, I can't think of the one that turned into the toad. Pete, yeah. He said, we thought you was a toad. Oh, Lord, that bunch of boys. He said, Mrs. Hogwallop done up in RUNNOFT. Looking for answers, he said, I suppose. He said, good riddance. He said, I do miss her cooking, though. He said, well, this stew's awfully good. He said, think so? He said, I had this horse slaughtered last Tuesday. I believe it's starting to turn. Lord, Lord, Lord. I have watched Oh Brother Where Art Thou one too many times. But he said we wouldn't find the treasure we seek on account of our obstacles. Mark, I got the Amazon bow, but I haven't shot it in a while. I just ain't. I tell you what, I have killed a rabbit with it last year, and I wanted to get it out and shoot a rabbit with it again this year. I could kill a rabbit with it pretty easy, I think. My problem is I don't have a way to mount a camera where I could film killing a rabbit. So if I can't film something, I really ain't interested in doing it. Brenda Bryant, that's pretty cool to be in that movie. I've got Where the Red Fern Grows, David Rushing on DVD, but my wife won't let us watch it. She can't stand to see a dog die in a movie, so me and Brody ain't got to. Heartbreak Ridge. I don't reckon I have seen Heartbreak Ridge. I'll have to look that one up. If anything is newer, I have not watched it. I have not watched Yellowstone. Everybody got into that. I watched about half of an episode. It just didn't do it for me. But now, if everybody goes to liking something and talking about how wonderful it is, starts trending, I'm generally gonna be like, well, it can't be that great. I don't know. Something in me ain't gonna watch it just out of spite. So while we're talking about Clint Eastwood movies, y'all don't forget Right Turn, Clyde. He said them black letters, he said most people I know step on them and squish them. Quigley Down Under is a good movie. I've got it over there. Hadn't been a long time since I watched it. Oh, Matthew Quigley. He could shoot that old, what was it, a 45 110? I can't remember. Well, Tommy, don't forget about Kelly's Heroes. He was good in Clint Eastwood was good in that one too. And in Any Which Way You Can. Every which way but loose, in any which way you can. I got both of them right down there somewhere. Tommy, what'd that old woman say? Hospitable! Oh, Lord. She wasn't being very hospitable with that shotgun. Well, we have talked about movies and everything else. Lord help y'all, it is nearly 9 o'clock. We have been down a list of about everything that you can talk about. Oh, man. And y'all believe that I sit here and my coffee done got cold? Larry, I never seen the mule. My favorite thing in Outlaw Josie Wales was the Indian that followed him around with a big top hat. I liked him now. The Big Country, I don't know that I have seen that one, but I like Charleston Heston. Obviously, he was in Mountain Men. Favorite books? Oh, Lord. Favorite books. Obviously, number one's the Bible. I like. And out of that, there's 66 books. My favorite one to read is, I like to read Proverbs. I get a lot of enjoyment out of Proverbs. I'm not crazy about Psalms. I like some of the Psalms, but as a whole work, I ain't crazy about it. It's good. But after Proverbs, I like Matthew and John. The writer John he had a good understanding. He had an understanding of who Jesus was. And the more you read John, the more you lean into that Jesus was God. He was not a separation. He was God come to earth. A lot of people don't believe it that way, but the more you read John, if you read John with the understanding that I think Jesus is God and not just his son, I think you come away with a read John with that mindset, and you start to get it. Travis Nichols, I am not a pastor. I just attend a church. Now, they call me a minister. I am a preacher, but a title ain't worth a whole lot. Too many people with a title that are not qualified to have them, really. Um, but anyway, it's I just preach. When somebody asks me to come preach, I do it. I feel though like I need to do something else, and I really at this point in my life I don't know what that is yet. I'm dissatisfied extremely with where I'm at. Uh, Not that I don't feel like I'm doing anything. I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I feel like there's something else I need to go start doing. I don't want to just like find a church somewhere and walk into it and be elected pastor. I don't think right now. That may happen. I'll do whatever God opens a door for and tells me, hey, this is what I want. This is where I want you. That's where I want to be. But without knowing exactly where that is, I would like to start a work, what I would consider a virgin work. In other words, something that ain't been done. And somebody brought up in here or commented that I should start going like to set up at a campground somewhere where people from that area could gather and we could do an outdoor service. Maybe have water there in a creek where we could baptize some people. Leave there and go to a different state to a campground or do something and do an outside where I sit there on the tailgate of my truck or whatever and talk to a group of people, whether it's a handful of people or 100, and just talk. Try to raise enough money to pay for the gas and the lodging, and that's it. As far as me wanting to make money off preaching, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it because I was an alcoholic, that my life had come apart. I was destroying myself, and God fixed me. I gave my life to Him, and He put it back together to what you see today. Everything that you've seen in my life, from this house to my vehicles to my kids to everything around me, is blessings that God has given me. Before this, I was an alcoholic living in a single wide trailer. I had my wife and my daughter, but it was a junk bin around it. And that's why I do what I do. I know what God can do. And I'm excited about that, and I want Him to do it for you. It's not that, hey, I want to make a bunch of money trying to preach. It's easy living. I think that's why a lot of people are in it. But I would like to start something. I don't know, a small church somewhere, a work of people that I don't want to be affiliated with no denomination. I just, and not because I think they're wrong, people get hung up on, well, what denomination are you? And what difference does that make? Let's find the truth in this book. I don't know if I've got a Bible right here. I think all my Bibles are on a shelf in yonder, other than a couple out in the shed. I don't have one right here behind me, but I want to take that book and let's find the truth that's in it, not what is leaned from one denomination. You know what I mean? And people, when you say, well, we're this denomination, well, people that they have this long memory history of everything they ever known about that denomination, and they label you by it. And, you know, there's a lot like the Pentecostal religion that I'm affiliated with currently has a long history of being real hard and real strict. Well, there's a lot of that there's a lot of good purpose for, and I agree with it. But some of it has been presented in a way over the years that they were so hard with it and strict that nobody's like, oh, they scared of it. And being scared of it, you know, they don't understand it. And you miss out on a lot of, there's just a lot missing. And there's been a lot of people then handed different ideologies because somewhere way back somebody broke away from this church because I just don't agree with that, or I don't like that, or I don't think it takes this. And, well, anytime you start saying I think or I don't like or I anything, you're taking away from what God started somewhere way back there, okay? So whatever Jesus gave the apostles and said, this is what I want you to teach, they spent 3 years with him. He helped them and trained them for 3 years, and what they had is what I want, okay? Regardless of what that is, because they got it directly from the main source. And that's what I want to get back to. I want to find that and give that to people. And they had signs following. They had miracles. They had people's lives changed. We've got to get back to that. Whatever there's fruit in, that's where I want to be. I don't care what name's attached to it. And I don't care whose money is attached to it. And that's one thing with denominations. It's a lot of money backing. And all I need somebody to fund this and fund that. God don't need you funding him. If it's of God, God will take care of it. He'll provide. And that's what I think. So if any of you's got any ideas about how to make some of what I'm just talking about happen, get up with me. I'd love to figure out a way to do it. Sean Deaver, you're right. A lot of people, they don't trust another person because they've been hurt by people. I have been hurt by people. I've had people that I put a lot of trust in hurt me, and it's hard to put a lot of faith in a man. You have to put some faith in some people, though, at some point. But you've got to have enough wisdom about you to be able to decipher and judge. A lot of people say, oh, don't judge. You've got to be able to judge. You've got to be able to rightly decide this person knows what they're talking about. I know them by their fruit. And you look at this man and go, this man ain't produced nothing in his whole ministry. He is destroyed and things went upside down, everything he's touched. It's hard to follow that man. So I understand these things. Hadn't heard from Mike Reed tonight. He may be here. Sometimes he'll watch and don't comment on everything. Sean Deaver, I tell you something else. When you mention Joel Osteen, there's a lot of those guys that started out right. But money tends to, if there's a power in this world strong enough to change somebody's heart other than God, it's money. Because people think money will solve my problems, or more money will help me do, and money don't solve problems. Money makes life a little easier, but if you've got problems, it'll make your problems bigger. You have to learn to fix the problems with God and with yourself. Money don't fix problems. Money just allows you to be able to have a little more of whatever you enjoy. And when you learn to handle that well, God will bless you with more money and more stuff if you're handling it well. But I think a lot of those people, God didn't bless them with money like Joel Osteen. They just started acquiring money, and it took them the opposite direction. Tony Vickery, I hope so. I'm praying that he will. I had a preacher tell me one time, said, God's going to give you a church. And, you know, it might not be in a building, but it's somewhere. He'll get me where he wants me soon. Long as I keep the faith, keep searching, keep seeking, we'll get there. Tyler, I'm gonna work on some knives pretty soon. I got to get caught up on some pottery, and I've got one cut out there that I am gonna try to get made. But Lord, I've got such a list of people begging for them that I'm doing them. Y'all is when I get one made, I put it up. And whoever pays for it first gets it. It's the only way I can handle it. I want to get everybody that wants one a knife, and hopefully we can do that at some point. I would love to give them to everybody, but number one, they $150 with a sheath. If you want just a knife and make your own sheath, $100 for the knife. But I have to make it worth my time to stop what I'm working on to make the knife. It ain't that I'm trying to get rich off of people by selling knives. But they're good knives. I got mine on my hip right now. I love this knife. This is the most practical knife I have ever toted. I love a big knife. I love a Bowie knife. But now, a Bowie knife has some downsides. In other words, when you sit down and you get in the canoe and you're doing all this, you got this big chunk hanging on the side of your body that's in the way a lot of times. Getting off the buggy, I hang it on that rail on the buggy. Every time I get off, it drives me nuts. I thought about cutting that rail off, but then when I go around a curve like that, I do kind of lean on it, so I had to cut it off. But anyway. Tommy, what money does is money puts a magnifying glass on this heart right here. The more money you give somebody, the more of this magnifying glass you put on that heart, and it really exposes what's in there. That's what it does. If it's good in there, more money or good will come back out of it. But if there's a little bit of an evil in there somewhere, a little bit of greed, that big magnifying glass will show it up to everybody. Everybody can look and go, yeah, we see what, you know. But here's my deal with money. I want enough money to pay my bills. I don't need more stuff. I don't need a new boat. I don't need a new truck. I like my truck out there. If you give me $1 million tomorrow, I wouldn't buy a new truck. I promise I wouldn't. That ain't what I'm geared. I got my low batteries come up. My thing I would probably buy me a big chunk of land somewhere where I would have a place that I could film, make videos and such as that. But as far as buying new stuff, there's not a lot. I would buy some stuff, probably odd and end, little stuff, camping gear, a few things that would make life a little more enjoyable. But I wouldn't go buy no whole bunch of new big flashy toys. And I think that's where people go wrong when you give somebody a bunch of money and they think, well, I could go hunting if I had this gun or this truck or this boat or this, If you can't catch fish with your Walmart pole, the brand new big one down at Bass Pro Shop probably ain't going to help you none, And that's the way I look at it. It's the same way with a church and a building and all that stuff. It ain't, you got to have enough money to pay your bills and live comfortable and have a few things you need. But I want to be able to help some people. I don't necessarily want to go around handing out money, but you can give people things and opportunities and pay bills off and if you were able to do that, that's a good thing. But the biggest thing ain't really financially helping everybody. You can't financially help everybody. But you can create a way that you've got more free time to preach the gospel, to go. There's people like in other states. that I'd love to get in my truck today and drive way off over there and baptize them. Because I've talked back and forth with them. I just can't personally afford to take off the time to drive 2 or 3 states away and baptize a person that they need baptized. Because I think baptism is important. I seen a preacher the other day on one of them Instagram reels, and he said baptism ain't necessary. And I don't know where in the world he got that, but he ain't been reading the Bible that I grew up reading, because Jesus said, except a man be born again of the water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. Much less can he get to heaven. So, where somebody comes up with stuff like this, and they on Instagram getting all kind of people, oh, I'm so glad to hear this. I asked this question, and they teaching a lie. I mean, the Bible is very clear throughout the Bible that it requires baptism. Now, there's a lot of variants on what name and what method and all this, and I could get into all that, but I mean, the necessity of baptism is pretty plain. Larry, what I would like to do is I'd like for somebody to just find some property that we could all pull up, pitch tents, maybe have a creek running by it, a pond on it, and we just have a pasture, and we pull up, park the trucks, gather around some lawn chairs, build a fire, put a tent up, preach the gospel, sit there and talk, then make coffee and cook a potluck dinner over a fire and get up in the morning and part ways. That would be my ideal scenario. Of course, weather permitting. But, I don't know what's in every other state. I don't know what kind of places are out there to do any of this kind of stuff. But basically what I would want to do, talking about the money side of it, is pull up, do what I just described, and let's take up a collection from there, and whatever we get, and we go somewhere else. And it's not to say, look how much money I made traveling around doing this, but you have to offset the cost that it takes to take off work, to drive, to spend the night, to buy food, the cost of living. And it's that way for everybody. But anyway. Mark, the speaking in tongues is, I'm not going to sit here and say, if you ain't spoken tongues, you go into hell. The Bible don't say that. But according to what happened in the book of Acts, you got to back up and you got to look at everything Jesus taught. 4 different viewpoints of Jesus' teachings. He said, be reborn, the water and the Spirit. He told Peter, he said, Peter, I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom. He said, whatsoever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Jesus didn't tell nobody else that. Jesus looked at Peter and told him that. And Peter stood up at the first outpouring of the Holy Ghost. Jesus said, y'all go to Jerusalem and you wait on me. And I'll return and I'm going to be in you when I come back. I'm going to ascend into heaven like a dove. He said, I'm going to return in like manner. And his spirit descended like a dove, and it fell in that room, in the upper room. And it said, and they all began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave the utterance. There's different types of tongues. There's tongues with interpretation. There's tongues that when people showed up, man, they heard people speaking in their own languages, and they heard what they were saying. Does that mean that everybody speaks in tongues, that you've got to have somebody that interpret it? No, it just was proof that this was real and they wasn't just making up useless words, okay? give it some merit is what it done. So you're looking at what happened in the book of Acts, not so much as what was said. Every time somebody had this encounter, even Cornelius, he was already a devout man, already a believer, already everything, but an angel came to him and said, Cornelius, you need to go talk to Peter. Peter's got the message that you've got to hear. You're a good man. You're paying tithes. You're giving to the needy. You're praying every day. You're believing on Jesus. You're doing everything right, but you need what Peter's got. And he sent for Peter, and Peter said, I ain't for the Gentiles. I can't go. That ain't God's people. And that's when the net come down, and God said, whatever I've cleansed is cleansed. Don't call unclean what I have cleansed. I cleanse the animals, I cleanse the people. No more is pork unclean, no more is all these animals unclean. Everything is clean. You rise, kill, and eat. But you also, the people are cleansed. This truth that I'm giving you in this gospel is for everybody. It don't matter if they black, white, rich, poor, whoever it is. It don't matter what nation they come from. This spirit now is for everybody. And so Cornelius said, while Peter yet spake these words, Peter was talking to him, and the Holy Ghost fell on him, and he started speaking in tongues. So what that leads you to believe is the infilling of the Holy Ghost that Jesus spoke of comes with the evidence of speaking in tongues. So that's where people get the idea that, well, you to get saved, you got to have speaking tongues. And I don't know that that's the case or not. I feel like it possibly could be. I'm not going to sit here and say if you ain't never spoken tongues, you're going to hell. Because like I've said in other videos, I can't judge people. I don't know who God's putting where. All I know is what the Bible says, and I teach what it says. And it says, except a man be born again of the water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter in the kingdom of God. So the infilling of the Spirit, there's been times that I tried to get it and speak in tongues, and I couldn't. But a lot of it had to do with flesh. It's because you start praying and you ask God to forgive you of your sins, and then you just start worshiping God and telling him how great he is and how much you need him, and you just praying and you just trying to feel your way into the Spirit. And when it comes over you, your mouth starts trying to flutter. You can't control your tongue, and you'll suppress that. Human nature will. You'll try to stop it because you don't know what it's doing, and you don't want to feel stupid, and you don't want people looking at you wall-eyed like, what is he saying? He's making that up. That ain't real. And all these thoughts go through your head. You have to overcome those carnal thoughts and let that mouth say whatever it wants to say, and you'll know exactly what happens. After that, there's a feeling that comes over you that cannot be described in words. I have experienced this, is why I can confidently sit here and tell you that. And with that, you walk away feeling different. My desires instantly changed. After that experience, I did not have this, I need to do bad things or say bad words, or I need to fight drinking anymore. I'm going to have to struggle with drink. I had no desire for alcohol after that, and I loved it up until that point. So, it's an experience that you have to just experience to understand. And there's a lot of people in the world that I see that are very skeptical. Oh, that ain't necessary. You ain't got to have that. Well, Jesus said believe. But I also think that if the book of Acts was filled, every time somebody had the experience, they spoke with other tongues. So it leads you to believe that it is necessary. So that's where those teachings comes from that say that. So what I would say, and this is what I would proclaim, if you know it's possible to have that experience with God, who in their right mind would not be trying to have it? You're not going to go to hell if you have it. You know what I'm saying? If you never have it and you've tried to have it and it just never happened for you, when you get to heaven and God says, well, maybe you had, that's why I say I don't know who he's putting in heaven or hell. And I'm not going to sit here and try to say how he's going to judge you. But to sit here and say, well, I just don't think it's necessary and I don't want it. Well, you know, you're limiting yourself from a blessing that God has got for you, that He wants you to put a little effort in to have it. And like me sitting here telling you that I've had this experience and I know it's real, then do you believe me? Do you think I'm making this up? Because I have evidence in the Bible of it, and I'm telling you, I have had it in modern day. Because I've heard a lot of people say, well, that was just for the apostles, and that was just back in those days. That don't happen anymore. Well, I've seen it countless times. I have seen countless people's lives change like this. They didn't struggle with sin after they had this experience. So that's why I say it's there for you to have. Do you want it? It's like God sitting there saying, here's you $1 million. This will change your life. Who's going to sit there and go, I just don't want that much money. I don't think it's for me. This is the same mentality that tells you, I don't want this experience that's being offered to me. So, with it being taught like that, I think people are a little more receptive to it than saying, if you don't have this experience, you go into hell. And that's kind of how it has been taught in years past. And I can see why people would be a little bit, well, how do you know? You know, I mean, Mark, when you get down and you praying and you start feeling this babbling, you just trust that that's God trying to speak through you, or His Spirit trying to speak through you, and you just let that mouth say whatever comes out of it. It's going to sound ridiculous to your carnal nature. You're going to be like, I'm such an idiot for this. That's what you're going to be thinking. And if there's anybody around you, you're going to be thinking, they think I'm an idiot. Because that's human nature. We don't want to look like a fool in front of people. We're scared of that. That's flesh. That's my pride. You have to kill that. And that is why this humiliating experience that we don't understand, that we don't know nothing about, is important to have. Because after you've had it, I promise you, things are different. Your walk with God is different. Like I said, I'm not going to say people's going to hell if they don't have it. I'm not going to preach it that way. I do think it is very important. I think it's necessary. And I would encourage and strongly push everybody to really try to have this experience. I'm going to tell you, you need this experience. Regardless of whether it's you can get into heaven or not, you need this experience to get through life. Because without it, my temper would get the best of me. I'm telling you. I get frustrated in traffic. I get frustrated at Walmart in the checkout line. Larry, a lot of the old churches, especially the Methodists, the old Baptists, a lot of these churches, if you'll go back in time, were all very similar. They all believed real similar. There was very few differences. Now there's so much difference in what they believe and teach. So you wonder, well, why have they all gotten weaker and drifted away? Who was right? And it's hard to know now. You look back 75 years ago, you wouldn't have caught a woman going to church with a pair of pants on nowhere. Why is that? Somebody explain that to me. Why is that? Why did it change? Did God's viewpoint on it change? I'm just going to leave that right there. I'm not going to take it any further. You just think about it. Did God decide all of a sudden 2,000 years later, you know what? That ain't important. Why did they feel like it was important then and we don't now? I'm just, and there's a lot of religions, y'all, out there that I don't really personally know a lot about what they believe. It's like Mennonites and the Amish, and there's so many religions. I can't tell you, like, this religion's wrong, this one's right, this one's right, because I don't even know what they believe. I honestly don't. I'm not, and so that way, and if I don't know, I don't judge them based on what they believe and know if they right or wrong or what, I have to take the Word of God and read it and take what I've been taught over the years and apply that with what I have read and my own understanding, and not let my flesh dictate what I understand, but let God enlighten me to what He wants me to understand and go with that. A lot of people read the Bible and out of their carnality they decide, well, I feel like this is what this means. Well, is that what you feel, or did you pray and let God impress you what He meant for it to say? And see, that's where everything gets divided in different denominations. Well, I think this, I think that. Did you pray and fast and let God show you anything? That's kind of how decisions religiously should be made. Not on, well, I like this. But I had somebody point those scriptures out to me that I brought up earlier, and I had never really looked at this, but Jesus did look at Peter, and He said, whatsoever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. So that's why there is so much importance on the message that Peter preached on the day of Pentecost. And that is why Cornelius had to go to Peter as the first non-Jew to get the truth from Peter, because what Peter said was what went. It wasn't what some other apostle or some other preacher. Jesus looked at Peter, and He said, whatsoever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. And that's why Peter had the ability to speak into existence some things. That's why Peter had some experiences. That's why Peter denied Jesus and realized what he had done. Peter went through some things that other people didn't go through. Peter walked on the water. Peter was there for a lot of things. And Jesus seen Peter's heart and knew Peter's heart and knew He could trust him with the truth and trust him to do the right thing. So Peter held the keys to the kingdom. And whatever he spoke into existence and all, that's why the message he preached it into law, basically, is the way it's presented. I can't say he did do that. I'm just saying that's kind of the way it happened. We have Church of Christ. We have Church of God. We have, I don't know, and y'all, I don't know how much battery's on my phone. It keeps telling me that it's acting like it wants to give up the ghost. If it cuts off, I don't know where, I don't have an extension cord to hook it up in here, I don't think. Lisa, give me an extension cord to plug this phone charger up. I'm going to have to plug my phone up, y'all. This cord stays hooked to the computer. But I imagine some of y'all ready to go to bed, ain't you? 143 minutes. We have been going 2.5 hours. Well. We got power. Lisa's coming to hook us up. Plug this into the phone. All right. I've got, oh Lord, up here. Y'all, let me get this extension cord. Look at there. You would know there's going to be a knot in it. Ah, we ought to have power. It don't. When I'm live, the thing don't come up and tell you is how much battery I've got. The notification has popped up twice. Usually it hits it at like 10% and then at 5%. So the next time it's probably going to be saying bye-bye. So anyway, now what I mean, bed on a Friday night. We party late around here, don't we? You know, other people, how do they do their live? Does everybody else go this long when they do a live? I don't know if they do or not. Unchained, you are so right. And you know, with that many different denominations, that everybody ain't right. I mean, I wish they were. You know, you hope that maybe these little variances don't matter. But it depends on probably where those variances are. I'll tell you this, I think a lot of it has to do with the condition of the person's heart that started that denomination as to the fruit of it. Now, that don't mean everybody associated with it's going to hell because that leader, you know, didn't leave in the right attitude. But it's going to have a lot to do with the success of it as a whole, I think, over time. But the truth behind the whole matter, when you start looking at how many different denominations is, what that is the evidence of evil influencing human carnality and weakening something over time. That is what the devil is doing with our nation. He's done it with denominations, with religion, everything. And God said there's 144,000 of his people that's never bowed a knee to Baal. And that is also a type and shadow of his spirit. There's going to be a group of people somewhere in the world that has held on to what God has really intended for them to have, and they're going to preserve it to the very end. But when you look at the percentages of what that 144,000 is out of the 12 tribes of Israel and compare that to the world, that is still a very small population of the globe. So then you wonder who's got it and who ain't. How much have I missed it? We got a lot of people that believe you can live any way you want to as long as you just believe on Jesus, you saved. And I'm sorry, but I think it's going to take more than that. Now, how much more leaves a lot to guess at and read and study, but when it says broad is the way to destruction and straight and narrow is the gate to everlasting life, you know that ain't but a few people going to find it. As far as percentage wise, well, you know that everybody run around under the banner of Christianity ain't going to heaven. So when you start eliminating people as looking around, well, these people do this and these people do this and who is the closest to God? Who is the closest to what the Bible says? That's what it's going to boil down to. That don't mean, well, because I'm associated with this denomination, I'm all right. No. Because there's going to be people in every church that don't make it because, I mean, you can stand up in a pulpit and read straight from the Word, and there's about 10 people out of 1,000 that's really going to take to heart what you saying and live up and line up by it. The rest of them's going to say, oh, well, my neighbor over here, he don't do all that, so I ain't going to, you know. See you later, Uncle Sasquatch. Good night. Glad you stayed with us all night. Unchained, there's probably more than 3 in every church. Oh, you said there's demons. I thought you said 3 demons in every church. Some said, no, it's more than that. I know, because when I used to go, I was carrying several with me. um, but y'all, in the whole reality of the things, whatever you're comfortable with and whatever feels good and comfortable, it's going to take more than that. I don't care what that comfort level is, it's going to take more than that. And it's going to take some sacrifice. I don't think that you'll ever get into heaven without making some sacrifices. And sacrifices ain't just, well, that I don't like that no way, so I ain't going to do it. That ain't a sacrifice. Sacrifice is when there's something in your life that you like, but I'm going to lay it aside because I don't really think God is happy with that. For me, to give you an example, would probably be Alabama football. I loved Alabama football. There's an Alabama A tattooed right there on my chest. I loved Alabama football. But y'all, I got excited when they played. I screamed and hollered at the TV. I jumped up and down. And when people said something negative on Facebook about it, I got aggravated. On Saturday, I changed everything I was doing to make sure I was where I could watch a football game on Saturday. And I changed everything I wore on Saturday because I was going to have my game shirt on and wear my Alabama colors and all that. You know what I'm talking about. And I got to looking at it, I'm worshiping that football team. And I liked it. But I felt convicted about it. And I said, you know what? It's time to let it go. And that is a similarity of a little bit of what sacrifice is. That ain't it in a nutshell, because it can get way deeper than that. These people that have sacrificed a whole lot more than that. That is just a small, give you an idea. It's when I like something, but you know what? I don't know if that's right. And I'm going to let it go, because most everybody, if they like something, they're going to find, oh, there ain't nothing wrong with that. Well, how you know? Is God convicting your heart about it and you ignoring it? So, it's going to take more than what we just feel good about. Good night, Charlie Pickerel. Larry, we're going to have to find several places. I need to get up around Oklahoma, somewhere up in that area, and do one. I want to go out towards Oklahoma. I want to get up around Tennessee. Somebody suggested somewhere around Land Between the Lakes, that they had a place somewhere up in there. Do one there. I want to get into the East Tennessee mountains, West South Carolina, up in that area, and do one. Maybe back down around North Alabama. I want to try to hit the areas that gets in driving distance of people that a couple of things that want to come meet me, but that are hungry for God, that we can find people that, and let's face it, y'all, there's a lot of people out there that have found God through my videos because they don't feel comfortable with church situations. They've been hurt by churches. Churches have hurt a lot of people. Preachers have hurt a lot of people. Those preachers were wrong. They should be forgiven for it. I don't believe in, because a preacher hurt my feelings 20 years ago, that I need to stay mad at him the rest of my life. You got to learn to forgive. But that don't justify what they did, and that don't also, but it does, let you know that there are some churches that have offended people, that have hurt people, that have done wrong. People are finding God through my videos because I am not just a preacher or whatever, but I'm giving you something that's real by living it by example, by showing you this is the evidence of what God has done. And look at this blessed life that God's allowing me to live, and people see that and see that it's real. And you go somewhere without a church setting, these people that I want to reach are not associated with church. I've watched a lot of people in this local area build a church by saying, well, I'm going to start a church. And then they get a whole bunch of these other church members, leave their churches and come to here. Well, they hadn't really saved anyone that wasn't already saved. I want to find people that don't go to church anywhere that's like discovering this and realize, you know what, there's something real about religion and Christianity that I ain't never had before. And I want to take that and share it with them and show it to them and tell them about it. I hadn't come up with something new, not as far as biblically, but I want to come up with a new way of presenting it, my own way, in the outdoors, in an outdoor setting, and somewhere where we're not. I do believe is what Jesus and them did. Jesus traveled from place to place to place, preaching and teaching. But he also left established churches there. Because we hear about the church of Laodicea, the church of Ephesus, the church of Corinth. All these churches that were left thriving churches, and that was what God left. Now, every one of those churches had problems. Thus, the letters that Paul wrote to them. God sent Paul to try to correct these churches and get them lined out on what they should say, do, act, how they should operate. That's why all the letters that's after Acts are important. They are what's to tell a church how to operate. That's what those letters were for. So, I want to do the same thing. I want to be able to go to places and get something started. Get a group of people that's like-minded that want the same thing and get something started and leave them there with it. Possibly me be able to go back time after time there and work it. Not go preach one time and walk off and forget it. But, I need to try to reach out. That's what I feel in my heart. That's what I want to do. And if this YouTube channel allows me to do that, that would be a great blessing. Danita, are you gone? Good night. Get to feeling better. Taylorsville Lake. Taylorsville, Kentucky. I'd love to come to Kentucky. Kentucky's a beautiful place. I went through there it was about June, late June, July. Man, the corn was all about waist high, rolling hills. We were in the western part of Kentucky. Went up through there. It was beautiful. I've never been over in the eastern parts. Travis, that's happened in a lot of places. The problem with that is, and I've seen this too, I've seen a lot of young preachers come in and try to run off all the elder people. And I touched on this in a, and every instance is different. I'm not describing your situation at all. I don't know what that situation was, so I can't say who was right or wrong there. I'm not getting into that. I'm just telling you with some of the things I have seen in other areas. There's a spirit of Jeroboam. You go back and read, and I think in Chronicles, or possibly Kings, that Jeroboam was promised a blessing. The Lord told Jeroboam through a prophet, I'm going to give you 10 of the tribes. 10 of the 12 tribes is going to follow you. You're going to be blessed. I'm going to do all these great things for you. You're going to be a blessing, and I'm going to keep a seed of David over here, but 10 of the tribes I'm going to give to you, and you're going to be blessed and all this stuff. But Jeroboam refused to receive the counsel and listen to the word. It said he refused to hearken to the words of the old wise men. And he listened to the counsel of the young men. And it said at the end of Jeroboam's reign, the Lord, through a prophet, told him, said, you've done more evil in your reign than any king before you. And it was because he didn't believe in receiving wisdom from older people. And that happens in a lot of churches. And it don't necessarily make a young preacher wrong or a young person wrong. It's a spirit that has got into this world, and it's the same thing going on with our nation. You step back and you look, and the young people are trying to bring in all these new ideas, and all the older generation is like, but yeah, this has worked for thousands of years. This is what we got here on. You need to do this because of these consequences. And young people are like, no, we like this. And these two conflict, and who's right? Well, these young people's got these bright new ideas that we think will work, but these older people are saying, yeah, but we've done the same thing, and we need you to use these old ideas that are tried and true and tested, and we know they work. And that conflict is the spirit of Jeroboam by the young people. And that's what's going on in churches and our nation throughout everywhere. And that's the conflict that we're seeing. Travis, you can find God right by yourself. I'll tell you this. Anytime that you've got conflict with a church, you need to handle that very delicately. And I would say that because every situation is different. But you need to really pray about it, and you need to really ask God to lead you, and you need to push the plate back. And you need to fast a couple of days. You need to get flesh under submission is the purpose of fasting. That is to physically prove to flesh that spirit is in control. Natural body says, I'm hungry, I want to eat. You say, nope, not till I say so. And that's what builds the spirit strong, because it builds your I'm in control, self-control. And when you do that, your spirit gets stronger inside of you, and you can understand and hear what God's trying to tell you. And with that, you can pray and say, God, is this church wrong? Do I need to step away from this church? Is this church straying away? Do I need to kind of get away from them? And it's like what I'm searching for in my life. God will find what he wants you to have and wants you to do and where he wants you to be, and he'll get you there. That don't mean it's going to happen like that now. But it takes being sensitive, it takes being serious and praying and talking to God. And I'm telling y'all, God's real, and God will lead you where he wants you. How you think he got me where I'm at? And I've still got a long ways to go. I have not arrived. I am not proclaiming I have. So I would tell you in your situation to keep going to that church till you really felt sure that God said, separate from them. Get away from them. They're not right. And for me to tell you, I can't, because I don't know the people, I don't know the church, I don't know the situation. Who's closest to what the Word of God says? What was the conflict over? Such as these things. And you can, whichever one of them is the closest to what the Bible says is where I would start leaning initially. But you can find God by yourself. Anywhere in the world, I mean, there's been people that were in remote areas that didn't have a church, they found God. You can do that. Tommy, you are exactly right. That is exactly where that comes from. Travis, I will say this. Every time I have ever seen a church run a preacher off just because they didn't like him, I have watched them churches get worse. In fact, the one I'm a part of ran a preacher off years and years ago. They actually ran two off back to back. And it got worse every time. And that church is still struggling spiritually. Now, we've had some good preachers and some good people. The pastor that's with us now is a good guy. I love him dearly. But the church itself is still struggling and still fighting spirits, and it still ain't right. Something ain't right in that church. I got the Holy Ghost there. I have got my life together there. But the church is not growing. The church is not experiencing revival. And how to fix it, I don't know. I wish I did. I'd fix it. But it's not just one church. This is in a lot of churches across the nation. And it's because of the spirits that's gotten strong in our world. And spirits in politics. I stay completely away from politics because politics is so infiltrated with evil spirits on both sides that neither one of them are right. Hear me again. There's spirits in both sides, neither one of them are right. So be careful saying I'm Republican or I'm Democrat, because there's a lot of evil on both sides of the fence. I'm going to leave that right there. But Tommy, talking about that spirit of Jeroboam, I prayed about that. I was listening to the Bible one day when God, I don't say he spoke to me. I'm very careful when I say God said do this. You be careful saying what God said. You say, oh, I felt like God impressed this on me, or I felt led of the Spirit on this, and that's what I'm going to say about that. I was listening to the Bible, and I felt of the Spirit that that's what this was. When I tell you God said this, you're going to know I had an experience with the Lord, that I'm confident enough to tell you he said something. I think people use that very loosely. Yeah, Tommy, when they start running off preachers, people's going, and that church split 2 or 3 times. It was, and it was really good church at the time, and it just, too many people want to have their way. They want their young'uns involved in something, and they want their young'un to get to do this and get to be a part of this or be the star of the show, and that's usually where it starts. Chris, me and Casey called me today and is literally begging me to go hunting with him in the morning about 9 o'clock down at Beanville, but I really can't. One thing, we can't get in a canoe and do a whole lot because the water's so low. Now, I don't know how much rain we got tonight. I'll pull up my river app and check water levels, but I've got to make pottery tomorrow. I may be able to hunt some next week. Travis, you probably on the right track, but you base your decisions on your walk with God, not the actions of other people. Because the Bible says, forsake ye not the assembling of yourselves together. It is important together with other believers just for the worship, studying the scriptures, growing in God. Whether they're right or wrong, we're all human. We're all got flaws. We've all made some mistakes. There's some things about my life and in my life that if you was with me every day, you probably wouldn't like everything about me. I mean, which I film video every day. You feel like you're with me every day. But, you know, in reality, I get frustrated. Off camera, I get aggravated about things in life. And sometimes I can be hard to deal with. I have things I have to work on. There's times I have to say, you know what, I'm sorry. I was wrong there. I shouldn't have done that. And I think all of us are that way. And when you put people together in a collective body of Christ and call it a church, there's going to be problems in it. And I don't think you're going to leave this church and go to this one and it not have no problems. Now, what you do is you have to find leadership that you can be submitted to. You have to find leadership that you have confidence in. That, hey, this man can get me to heaven. This man is teaching what the Bible says. And that's what you look for. Uh, just to walk away from a church because it's got problems, be careful doing that. I'm not saying it's wrong. Okay? We got a thing we call church hoppers, and they, whoever's church is the most popular, they go to there and they get frustrated. Somebody, says something they didn't like, or they didn't shake my hand, or, I didn't get asked to be a part of this, and they get mad and leave and go to this church. Well, in 5 years, they've been to 4 churches. Well, we call them church hoppers. But if you're spiritually drying up at a church and you feel like, you know what, I'm just losing my whole desire to live for God because this church ain't feeding me, then you need to start looking for a church that feeds you spiritually. Not feel-goodism, not, well, oh, I like their music, I like their singing, that it needs to be, am I growing in God here? That's what you're looking for. These churches has got good singing and good music and fun to go to, and they got light shows and screens and all the works. But they spiritually as dead as the desert of Moab. So be careful where you go to and what draws you to a place, okay? Go somewhere because they's getting better. People's lives are being changed. These things happen. There's signs and wonders. The signs following. That's what you're looking for. Carrie Beard, I do think we need to be accountable to somebody. I think submission to leadership is important, but I think you need to be submitted to good leadership. Because there's a lot of people, like I said, on Instagram teaching all kind of crazy stuff. You can't be submitted to somebody that ain't lined up with Scripture. I mean, if they telling you there's 10 gods and you love yourself and live any way you want to, you don't need to be a part of that. Don't submit to them kind of people. I'm being exaggerative, I'm blowing it out of proportion, but you have to be careful what you agree to. But anyway, we always wind up preaching the last hour of these lives. That's why they wind up so long. I'm a long-winded preacher, ain't I? But y'all, I really enjoy trying to help people grow in God and help people get better. That is what ministry is. If you don't have a desire in your heart to help other people get close to God, then you're missing the whole thing. It's all about, hey, I've had this wonderful experience with God, and I'm excited about it, and I want you to have it. It's not about, hey, I wonder if I could make a living doing this. I'm good at talking. That ain't where you. It's about, hey, I want somebody else to have what I had. I'm excited about it. If somebody ain't excited about their walk with God, they probably ain't really got one. I had a young man tell me, Tommy, one day, he said, we was talking about the light shows in church. A lot of these churches have started turning all the lights down, and they just got one big light up on the stage up there where the preacher's at and the music. And a lot of them's colored lights now. And they darken the church. It looks a lot like them old clubs we used to go back to when I was in high school. We went to the Midnight Sun down there at Meridian. You probably heard of it. And then there was several more, but we'd go to these clubs. Well, the lights was dim in them clubs, and they had these lights dancing all around, and man, you felt good. Didn't nobody see everything going on. You could kind of sneak around and get away with stuff in there, And when the churches started doing that, well, I told, I just don't agree with that. I come out of them dark honky-tonks and bars and clubs and, into this church where all the lights was on. And I might just be old fogey and a traditionalist and whatever, but I like that. I like all the lights on, and I like everything to look like Grandpa's church that he went to, because Grandpa had something real. Grandpa stayed with Mama all his life. Grandpa prayed every day. I walked in the house so many times and saw Grandpa reading his Bible. I know what Grandpa believed. And this is what Grandpa had. And I don't see no reason to change it if it worked and got him to heaven. And I watch all these people. This young man, he said, oh, but he said it's like that to make people feel comfortable. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're not supposed to go to church and feel comfortable in our sin. We're supposed to go to church and feel guilty about everything I ever done wrong and feel like, oh, I'm unclean. I need to do better. Because if I go and feel like, oh, I feel comfortable here, I feel like I fit in. I feel good here. Well, how you going to change if you don't feel guilty about everything? I'm supposed to go and feel like, you know what, I'm a wretch. I need to do better. Good night, Tennessee Smoky. We'll see you next time. Where there is light, there ain't any darkness. That's true. Where you at, Travis? Tommy, I like a mix of music. I like when they use some new and some old, but I tell you what, I like for them to sing something that's got some feeling to it. I'm more about anointing and not what they singing. But I will tell you this, if they just do all new worship stuff all the time and these what we call praise songs, and they don't never sing about the power in the blood and all of that stuff, they missing something. Email me, Travis. We'll work something. We'll come up with something. At justinpeden@gmail, or make sure you get on my Facebook. It's probably a lot easier to converse with me on Spirit of the Outdoors Facebook page. If you message me on my Justin Peden Facebook account, I very seldom check it. I just don't. I stay on my Spirit of the Outdoors. So if you'll message the Spirit of the Outdoors page, hit Messenger on it, I usually check them fairly regular. So that's the best place to. We'll try to, but get up with me. We'll try to come up with something. I've got to get out and do some stuff. I don't know what all I can do. A lot of my time is tied up with my pottery and such, so I've got to work it all. Yeah, Tommy, I heard this old preacher. He's a pastor up in Indiana, I think. And he said, everybody's got this idea that God's this great big teddy bear in the sky. And he just, he loves everybody and he's going to forgive everything. And just come as you are and you can live like you want to. Just come to church and we'll love everybody in. And that ain't so. He will accept anybody. He'll take anybody. He'll love anybody. You come to Jesus as you are. You don't fix yourself and go to God. But when you come to God, you got to remember that God is the judge and he's great and terrible and he's got wrath and he said, vengeance is mine. And you're going to have to change some of the way you live and act and talk and do because he's holy. And he said, be ye holy because I'm holy. He didn't say, I'll make you holy. He said, be holy. And a lot of people forgot that. They think, wow, holy, that's... Will do, Brian. We are probably fixing to have to shut this down. Y'all, it is 10 o'clock. We've been going on and rambling and carrying on for 3 hours. Y'all have had enough preaching. I'm going to have to pass a hat. I don't even wear a hat. I used to wear a hat all the time. But anyway. We've got stuff up as far as Tennessee. Dyersburg, Tennessee, I think is about as far. We've got some stuff in Arkansas somewhere. But I don't know if it's as high as Dyersburg. But anyway, up about that far north. But you can order off the website, and we should be restocking it pretty soon. It's down. There ain't a lot of stuff on the website right now as far as pottery because I'm behind. I've been trying to kill a deer and ain't had no success. But anyway, y'all, I have enjoyed talking with you tonight. I love doing these lives because I like to just sit here and talk. Yeah, Tommy, wearing this bandana is going to cost me a lot of money. Y'all answer me something while we closing this out about this bandana. I get, at times, not all the time, it ain't a lot of people. Now, but I have had several comments, and it's hard for me to determine through a comment how old somebody is. I tend to want to think it's probably older people. I don't know that. But they see this bandana and they think, oh, how silly it is and how stupid. And one guy, and I just got where if they make a comment about the bandana, I just delete them. Some guy commented on one of my Facebook reels the other day about I need to learn how to tie a do-rag. I just said, I didn't even answer him. I just blocked him. I mean, they ain't no... But yeah, when you pass it, all the money falls right out the bottom. It don't hold nothing. So anyway, y'all, that being said, thank y'all for joining in tonight, sitting here and listening to us go live and talk right along. We've talked about everything. I know somebody asked about books I liked. Keep that thought in mind. We'll try to go through some good books in the next one. If y'all will bring it up, I think Diana Bowen's the one asked. I hadn't forgot. I talked about the one book, the main book, and then it went down a rabbit hole from there. But we'll talk about actual books I like. I know some of y'all already know, but these are good. Y'all ever heard of this fella? William Shakespeare. I've got some Guy de Maupassant. I have got some poetry of Robert Frost, William Blake. I like a lot of poetry. But now, probably my favorites are Sherlock Holmes. I love Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I enjoyed The Hobbit. Hobbit was a great book. Now, the Lord of the Rings trilogy got a little too into detail, and I was kind of done with it by the time I got to the end of them. Right here I have some James Fenimore Cooper. That is the Pathfinder. The Deerslayer is here. The Last of the Mohicans. So there's a lot of different stuff I like. There's no way I could set... Zane Grey's Spirit of the Border. That is a great book. Read that one. That hooked me. So anyway, thank y'all for watching tonight. Thank you for hanging out. Remember, the best way to do things is the way you like to do it. We'll see y'all. And Logan, hang on. Y'all, when you twisted your foot a little over 2 months ago and it still has a knot and it still kind of hurts, would y'all go to the doctor? Here's where I determine, can I walk on it? Does it function? If I can walk on it and I can function, I'm probably not going to the doctor. Now, if I feel like something is, well, even if it's broke, if I can walk on it and it functions, I probably still ain't going to the doctor. But I ain't telling you what you should do. Anoint it with olive oil and pray over it and speak healing in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth and believe it. God will take care of it. Thank y'all for watching Spirit of the Outdoors. We'll see you next time. Y'all have a good one.